What's going on, everybody? Mike McIntyre here, back from All Things Sports, bringing you another brand new unboxing and review. And today, I have something I've been looking forward to for a long time, so let's get into it. Alright guys, before we begin, you know the drill. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, watch the entire video. All of those things truly do help the channel out. Thanks for stopping by, and let's get into this brand new review. Alright guys, so today I'm taking a quick look at the brand new Wahoo Element Roam 3. This is something I've been waiting for a while. I sold my original V1 back in December when the Ace came out with the intention of upgrading to the Ace in the spring season. So I sold it in December, and I knew that I would only look for a new computer in April or May of 2025. The Ace was announced in December. I didn't know it at the time, but they also came out with the Roam 3 and the Bolt 3 in May. So when I got those press release emails, I thought, hey, that might be another option to take a look at. And given that I was in the market for a new computer, I came from the Roam V1, this was something that I was super excited about. I saw the Ace in person, and it was extremely heavy and really big. It even took me back, not necessarily by the size, but by the weight. So when the Roam came out, I thought this was the perfect middle ground for new features, size, and all kinds of things. So I was really interested in the Wahoo Roam. On launch day, I was able to pick it up, so I'm going to show you the Wahoo Element Roam 3. In terms of the packaging, Wahoo's gone with this new packaging. I think it's probably more eco-friendly, more recycled material. Just for the sake of it, I like the look of the old packaging better. And then you open the box, you get this lid style box here, and the computer is presented to you in the front like that. So let's take the computer out. I'll put this to the side, and then I'll show you some of the accessories. So in terms of accessories, you get a couple of black zip ties. This is if you're choosing to mount the computer to like a stem or something like that. It's a very, I'm gonna use the word cheap, but it works. It's a cheap way of doing it, zip tying the couple of mounts that you get here, these little rubber inserts here, where you can mount the computer to your stem if you choose to go that route. I always prefer the out front mount, so that is what the zip ties are for. You have the stem mount as well with a rubber backing here just to protect the stem. You get a USB-C charging cable right here, so that's a good upgrade going to USB-C. You get a tether cable this time around. This did not come with my Roam V1, so you get a tether cable. Honestly, my mount's pretty secure, so I probably won't ever use that. And then you get an out front mount. Now, this is one of the things I think Wahoo's done. I'm going to use the word cheap again, although I do understand why they've done it. They've created a mount that works for both the Roam and the new Bolt. So you have two brand new computers, but one new mount. So this is obviously a cost-saving mechanism for them. They only need to produce one mount for two different computers. So if you use the out front mount that they give you, here's the new Roam 3, and it, quarter turn mount slides in. You can see that it doesn't perfectly fill out the footprint of the back of the Roam. On the Bolt, it sits a little bit more flush, but again, because they're using one mount for two new computers, you can see the outline there of the new Roam is a little bit larger than the out front mount. Am I nitpicking a little bit? Maybe, but on the previous version with, I had the Roam V1, but even on the V2 and on the Bolt, you had its own separate mount. So you get this nice seamless finish from the Roam or for the Bolt. So again, to me, it's not necessarily a deal breaker because I'm not going to use this mount anyways. I prefer a center mounted one that works with my stem. But for those of you that will be using that and want a clean finish, it's just something to take note of. It's ever so slightly taller than the previous version and ever so slightly narrower. Effectively, you're getting a slightly larger screen. So you're getting like 0.1 of an inch larger screen on the Roam 3 compared to the V1 or V2 because those were both the same size. So the Ace and the Roam both have touchscreens. The Bolt is still button only. For me, this is a nice feature because there are a few scenarios where I think a touchscreen actually works really well. You can see the computer booting up. In terms of mapping and navigation, that's where a touchscreen works really well. In all other scenarios, I find the buttons work best. So for me, I love the fact that for mapping and navigation purposes, if you're on the side of the road or whatever and you want to scroll around, you can use the touchscreen feature. You can pinch to zoom, things like that, like a smartphone, like all the multi-touch features that we're used to. But for actual riding, I find using buttons better. So this is something that the Roam 3 does really, really well. I like the fact that you can use both the touchscreen or the buttons to navigate the menus. The buttons, compared to my V1, are now sticking outward a little bit more. Mine were more of a concave shape on the V1. This is sticking out. They're much easier to press. Even with gloves on, you can feel that they're a little bit more tactile. They're much easier to press as well, so it doesn't take as much force to actually press the button. So this is really quite a good thing. The fact that we have buttons that, you know, are easy to press, easy to use, easier to use with gloves on as well. Overall, the buttons are a huge improvement. The touchscreen's a great feature, and I like the form factor of this one. It's not overly heavy. I think it's like 8 grams heavier than the previous V2, but compared to the Ace, it's like half the weight of the Element Ace. So for me, this is the perfect middle ground. It's a large enough screen that you can use it. It's easy to see. You can still use the touchscreen feature. You get the added benefit of the buttons as well. And it's not overly heavy, so I really like the form factor, I really like the touchscreen, I really like the buttons. There's a lot of good things here. Another feature that's new across all of the Element lineup is the navigation of the menus, and the entire sort of user interface is new on these new models. So on the Bolt, the Ace, the Roam, it's all the same thing. You get this home screen, which I like, so you can have different workout profiles. So you can have like indoor cycling, gravel riding, racing, whatever. You can create those profiles if you wish, mountain biking, for example. You can have routes, you can have workouts, and you also have, you can see I'm using the touchscreen, you have your sensors paired on this home screen right here, and you can see which sensors are paired. They have a little icon as well. They have sort of a status indicator about how much battery is life, whether they're connected or not. I really like all of this. This is good. If you have multiple workout profiles, you can just select which one's here, and you'll see which profiles you've created. And within each profile, you can have your own home page and maps and all that stuff. You can create all kinds of different pages in each unique profile, which is really good. This is where the touchscreen works well. Again, just navigating certain menus like that. You can also use the buttons as well. So you have the middle button, which is the quick start. If you're ready to just start your ride, you select that. You can close this page using the buttons as well, and you can see that I have my data fields available here. Same as on previous Elements, you can use the buttons on the side to increase or decrease the number of data fields. On the Roam, you can have a max of 11. So if you just want to see, you know, 1 or 2 data fields, for example, I just zoom in and you can have your data fields pop up there. You can just have 1 if you'd like, or 2, I mean, so you can have your whatever. This is all customizable within your map system. So again, I really like these features. It works really, really well. If you need to access any kind of like device settings, you can press the side button here. You can change the brightness. You can have the notification sounds. You can change these kinds of things. You can see if your phone is paired, device info, custom alerts. You can do all that kind of stuff here. You can use the buttons as well to go to your next page. You can see which sensors are paired. I've set all of this up already, and then back to sort of the home page system. So I really like a lot of this new Roam. The touchscreen, the buttons, everything works really, really well, which is great. There are a couple of things that I don't like about it after using it for a while. The first thing I notice is the screen in bright light and in well-lit rooms like this. You can see the screen's actually pretty good. In sunlight, it's really quite good as well. In overcast conditions, I think it's a little bit dim. And this is something I'm not sure why it's like that. I mean, I know they've added a touchscreen now, so I'm sure that messes with the optics of the glass and everything like that, of the screen itself, of the display. But we're in 2025 when you're getting super bright smartphones that have multi-touch screens and all of that stuff. Yes, I know this is a cycling computer and it's not a smartphone, but we're in 2025. Surely the technology exists where you can have a super bright screen with a touchscreen and all the necessary features that you need. And I'm sure Wahoo could have done a better job in overcast conditions making this look better. Just going based off memory again from my Roam V1, in overcast conditions, I think that screen for whatever reason looked a little bit better. In overcast conditions, I find it dim, and because it's so dim, it almost looks a little washed out. So some of the colors that you're getting on this new screen, on this new display, kind of look washed out as well. So I'm a little bit disappointed with the viewing experience of this device in overcast conditions. In sunny conditions, there's no problem. Yes, you can change the brightness feature. So if you go to the backlight, you can have it on, and you can change the backlight feature. You can have it off. You can have a backlight toggle to 5 seconds before it shuts off. You can have auto max mode, where again it just increases the brightness, or you just leave it on and leave it max brightness all the time. but that's going to affect battery life. So again, this is just something that I think they probably could have done a better job on. I've tried to leave it on auto and leave it on auto max. Auto max is a little bit brighter than auto, but again, I'm not sure it's bright enough. Could play with it a little bit more and leave it on the on setting and just leave it on its max brightness. But again, that's going to affect battery life, so something to consider. You can change the light mode, whether you want it in dark or light. I just prefer to have light mode. You can lock the screen, so if it's raining or something like that, and you don't want the touch screen to be affected by any sort of misuse inputs or whatever, you can lock the screen so you don't have something interfering with the touch screen when you're in that sort of scenario. This is another feature. I really like the fact that you have the notifications. You also have a bell now on the Roam 3. So if I double tap the screen, so let's pretend I start my ride, you can have a bell. The other thing though is the bell is also affected by the notification volume. So for me, if the computer's on my bike, I don't need the notifications at full volume. That was one of the first things I changed. I noticed it was a little too loud for me, so I turned the notifications down. However, that also turns the volume of the bell down. So the bell is going to be used for people around me that are, 5, 10 yards away from me or whatever like that. So for me, the bell should be on max volume and the notifications could be on a different volume sort of setting. So I don't understand why you can't have the bell and the notifications as two different independent volume controls. Why can't I put the bell at max volume and the notifications at a lower volume? Again, to me this just makes sense. The computer is right in front of me on my bike. I'm moving with the computer, so I don't need notifications at max volume. I can hear it at a lower volume. It's right there in front of me. But for someone that's, again, a few meters away from me, it's windy, there's other road noise, there's a train, there's an airplane, whatever, I'm outside in the real world, I should be able to have the bell at max volume and the notifications at a different volume. So for me, I'm not sure why that's a different feature and it's not, independent control. So for me, that's something that they could change in the software updates or whatever in future updates. The only other thing that I have a little bit of a, complaint with is the live tracking. So again, I've used this for about 2 weeks and my live tracking link has only worked once. I send it to my wife, I send it to my parents, my sister, and it sends automatically. Again, great feature. I love the fact that it exists, but if it doesn't work, what's the point of having it? So in the first 2 weeks, I've probably used this now on maybe 10 rides or so, and my wife has told me that the live tracking link has only worked once. So 1 out of 10, I'm not sure what the issue is. It sends the email notification off automatically, great. But then she opens the link and there's no live tracking. It can't find my location. So I don't really understand what's going on there. So for me, there's a few things here that I don't understand why they can't get them right. We're in 2025. To me, this seems like a relatively basic device in some ways. It's a cycling computer with different features, but we're making smartphones that are basically super powerful computers that people have on them 24/7. So why can't I make a bike computer that doesn't need to do nearly as much as a smartphone does, but why can't we get them right? There's just a few things here that I don't know why, they don't exist yet. There's another thing. I'm riding my bike, I've got my phone notifications synced to the device. Great. I love the fact that, if I get a message, it pops up. But in the app, why can't I create like a custom message where by the pressing of one button, it sends an auto message? So I'm just thinking of, if you get a text message that comes in, why can't I say, on a ride, respond later, and I just push a button on my Wahoo and that will send the text message off? To me, it seems like a relatively simple feature that we could add, and it's still not here. So I'm not sure why that's not there. So those are a couple of complaints. There's the bell notification again. I'm going to stop my ride and we'll delete it. So a lot of good things are here on this Wahoo, I have to admit. I really like a lot of features, the touchscreen, the buttons, the overall experience, the new UI, all of that stuff is really good. I like the fact now that I can sync up with music, so if I'm commuting and I have my AirPods in, I can control, my Spotify from this. You can control a GoPro from this. For me, I'm coming from the V1, so the Summit segment features are new. I really like that. On any climb, it doesn't need to be a programmed route. On any climb, you can see the climbing information pop up in front of you. Go to the climb page, and you can change the data fields. You can see the elevation gain, the gradient, how much further you have on the climb, all that stuff. A lot of good things are here. I don't want to make it sound like it's a bad computer. there's just a couple of things that I think some people are going to find as deal breakers. The text message feature that I just talked about, I'm sure that could be added in software. The bell notifications, you know, being two different independent volume controls, that could be added in software, I'm sure. The screen, though, is something that you can't change. And I think some people, it's going to be a complete deal breaker. Once they see how dim this looks in overcast situations, I think some people are going to return it. And to be very honest, I'm actually considering that. I just think that, again, in bright sunlight conditions, it works fine. Plenty of brightness. I love the fact that there's all these new colors because I'm coming from the V1 and it didn't have any colors. But, you know, it's still not good enough. It's $700 Canadian for this. It should be better, in my opinion. And the screen is something you can't change in a software update. So while there's a lot of good things, there's a couple of things that I think they missed on this. And the screen being the biggest thing, and that's something that you can't change in a software update, I think they could have a few issues there on selling this to some customers. So if you guys have any questions, please leave those down below in the comment section. I always get an answer out to you. Mike McIntyre, All Things Sports. Thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Till then, take care. Peace.